So before you stain and seal a deck or fence or other outdoor structure, there's something you should absolutely do to your exterior lumber. It's a crucial first step, and to demonstrate it, I teamed up once again with paint expert Nick O'Keefe of Oak City Coatings in Raleigh, North Carolina. Nick walked me through a prepping process that makes all the difference in exterior stain situations. And today I'm sharing that info with you on The Honest Carpenter Show. Yes, staining decks and fences can drastically prolong the lifespan of your outdoor wooden structures. This is especially true for treated lumber, which isn't quite as durable as it was pre-2009, a thing I've talked about before on the show. But before you stain, you need to make sure that the wood is ready to receive pigment and finish. And to do that, you really need to subject it to a soft wash process. A soft wash involves using a light chemical spray on low pressures to clean the wood and produce balance in the wood's surface. We really want to do this for multiple reasons. The first is that lumber is often just sort of dirty. It sits around in lumber yards for days or weeks, gets transported across highways in dusty trucks, and then sits in your yard for multiple weeks, where it can also take on mold spores and mildew before it's eligible for staining. Stains and sealants can't bind effectively to dirt and grime, so you have to get that stuff off first. But also, milled lumber tends to have very uneven surfaces. Partly, this has to do with the fact that wood pieces will come from different parts of the tree and may be milled at slightly different angles. This produces grain irregularities that can cause uneven densities across boards. But also, this lumber is being cut by large, fast-moving saw blades in the mills. The friction heat of the blades can react with resins in the lumber to produce kind of a hard, glassy layer on some wood surfaces. We call this mill glaze. We really want the pores of the exterior wood to be clean, open, and as uniform as possible. And the best way to do this is to cleanse it with a light chemical bath. There are multiple products out there, but Nick uses Sherwin-Williams Revive. It's a liquid product containing oxalic acid and other components. These mildly corrosive elements scour the surface of the wood, so it'll brighten the wood, clean it, and get it ready for stain. We're going to show two ways to go through this process. One, with a pressure washer, and two, with just a cheap normal hand pump, because not everybody has a pressure washer or wants to go out and rent one. Either way, the process is similar and really simple. For the first method, Nick is using a 2800 PSI washer with multiple sprayer tips. To begin, his crew member, Jesus, is using a rinse tip to just wet the wood with plain water and clean it off a bit. This is a pretty fast process, not a ton of sprayer pressure here. We really don't want to rupture the wood with an intense bead. We just want to remove some of the surface pollutants. So he rinses down the entire length of one side of the fence. Then he pours 1 gallon of Revive into a 5-gallon bucket and runs it through a small siphon hose into the outflow line of the washer. By using an even lower pressure spray tip, the Revive gets drawn into a mixture with the water outflow. He liberally coats the fence with this mixture. Nick says you want to apply about 1 gallon per 100 linear feet of fence. Keep in mind, that's just one side of the fence, not both sides. But Jesus keeps moving to apply the product evenly in this amount. When the Revive is on, it needs to sit for 15 minutes to adequately cleanse the fence or deck. It's a pretty important time frame. But after that time, he switches back to a rinse tip on his sprayer and simply hoses down the fence again to flush the product from the wood surface. And Nick likes to lightly rinse grass and vegetation to further dilute the runoff. And that's how you do the whole process with a pressure washer. But as I said, if you don't have one, you can do the whole thing with just a hose and a hand pump sprayer. To do this, Nick once again wets the wooden fence to rinse it off. He just does this with a garden hose. Then he pours some Revive into his hand pump reservoir, puts the lid on, pumps it several times for pressure, and locks the handle. He sprays the undiluted fluid on pretty liberally, coating all surfaces. Nick says that since you can't work as fast this way, you probably just want to do smaller segments of the fence. And you may even want to time them off of a watch. But when you reach your 15-minute sit time, just dial up your highest garden hose pressure and fully rinse the fence section with the chemical on it. Then continue the whole process for the rest of the fence. And that's it. This far section of fence had about an hour to dry in the sun, and it looks great. The wood is much brighter, stains are eliminated, and it just looks refreshed. After a day of thorough drying, it'll be ready for stain. And normally, new treated lumber needs about 90 days to dry out before staining. And during this time, all sorts of bad warpage can occur from sun and heat exposure. But Nick says by using a pre-stain wash like this, you can often cut that time down to 30 or 40 days because it actually helps extract treatment fluids as well. This means that you can stain sooner and prevent some warpage by introducing stain UV blockers faster. It's just another advantage of this pre-wash method. And we're going to show the whole staining process too, so check back soon for that video. But for now, I really want to thank Nick and Jesus for helping me. Be sure to check out Nick's company, Oak City Coatings in Raleigh, NC and the Triangle area for your paint and stain needs. I'll link them down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll consider subscribing and hitting that little bell button to turn on notifications. That way you'll know the moment we post something. I'm Ethan James with The Honest Carpenter. I'll see you next time.